Right, it's the 15th of May 2024. I didn't bother looking at the forecast this morning because I don't actually know what the weather's supposed to be today. But obviously, whatever the weather is, it's sunny, so just wanted to mention that. It's not been a great morning. They're fixing the door at my place today, by the way, because of what happened when Matty was there, but that's about it. We had this time period of where the 70 politicians decided to resign, right? Well, believe it or not, the time they resigned, was directly after I posted some information regarding, if I can get through here, I don't think it's the only way through, I'm not sure, information that Gemma Ferguson doesn't like me or has turned against me. And when I gave them my phone number to my old number before I lost the phone number, to her phoning me up to say that she's got me down as a sick cunt because of the age gap and all the rest of it. In actual fact, Gemma Ferguson is exactly the same age gap as my real parents when they were together. So, worth mentioning. In general, people tell me I'm sick if you have enjoyable sex or with a sexual person at my age. Well, the thing is, everybody's had that. So they're going to think that. So they're going to say this. But when someone's had nothing at all in their whole life and being told this, then that's sexual murder. That's basically because you are actually being told you're being treated like everybody else. It's the same on dating. Right. So take into account. I'll give you a story, how everybody works. So most people have sex as a teenager, they have sex as kids. They enjoy sex, they get their feelings out of each other, they say that Jesus is love, and all the rest of it. They have a baby, they have a child, they're known as a single parent, before their mid-20s. Then and by that time they've had hundreds of people, well, not hundreds of people, hundreds of fucks, shagging, hundreds of times, and that's that. So you're treated like that. So you're treated as a sick cunt if you don't fancy an older person who's not very clean, not very good looking, not pretty stale, pretty ugly. The leftovers, the shit of the bunch, the HIV carrier maybe. You've got to be offered that for first ever relationship. But that's not taking into account your past. And regardless of that, because of your age, you're being told that you're a sick cunt if you don't go with an old person. They're not taking into account, not every single person on this planet has had sex in their whole life. And I'm being told that I've had sex, I've enjoyed sex with hundreds of people, lots of sex with people under the age of 25 and blonde people and whatever. I got to be told that lies, and I got to accept all these lies that are not true slammed in my face. And then I got to be told on top of that I'm a sick bastard if I don't go with an older person because it's time to let the younger people have what they haven't had yet. And that you're an old responsible person that goes with a negative fucking granny, or if you don't, you're a sick fucking bastard that needs to be smashed up, knifed down and put in a fucking wheelchair with your fucking spine smashed up. Regardless of me having nothing, apart from being sexually abused as a child, it doesn't work like that with me. It works like that with people that have had people. Then you also got to take into account that I'm being told that I've had a daughter, I've had a son, I've been in a sexual relationship, I've had a family. I got to be told that and dictated with people's lies, claiming that I have, and the government lies, and all the setups that are telling me that I'm been in a relationship and claiming I've been with Amy Weston, which looks like Gabby Borges, the American singer, at a younger age, smoother skin than Gabby Borges, whatever. Regardless of never having anything, I got to be treated just like everybody else and be respected in the same nasty way as people that have already had sex with people. So you've got to take that into account as well. So when I'm looking for someone and I can't find anyone, I got to take the responsibility that I could get smashed in and fucking knifed because of mistakes of people thinking I've already had sex and enjoyed sex with people in my teens, 20s and 30s or whatever, even though I haven't. So that's the way it works now. So, I've got to face the responsibility that if I look at a sexual person or I go with a sexual person, that I've got to be smashed or fucking knifed in the wheelchair because you won't have sex for the first time in your whole life properly with an old granny. So basically Jesus Christ has stabbed me in the back. And this means, because this has happened, it's not going to look good for Christians, but because this has actually happened, and the fact that I've not had anyone, and because we're in a new time where they don't allow age gaps, or allow for people that have been sexually abused as a child to have a more sexier type person who's not a stale person or a used single mother or whatever, because that is not taken into account anymore, I got to be treated as a sick cunt and accept that if I don't go with negative attraction that's ugly and someone that's very used, that looks like a... Well, the type I keep on being referred to, I give a definition, I use the term toffs. Now basically I'm being told, and it's been going on for about a decade now, since I was in my early 30s, they tell you that you've got to go with the unhygienic looking type. The type with greasy black hair, fat build, a face that looks like it's full of warts or shingles, or very rough and, you know, I don't know how to describe it, and, you know, and told that you're supposed to go with the type that look like they're laughing in a stupid way when they're laughing in a backwards way, in a goofy sort of way. Told if you don't fancy a type that look like they got tomato ketchup coming out of their mouth, all rotted teeth and unhygienic and bad breath or whatever, you don't go with that type, or you don't fancy that type, I'm being told I'm a sick bastard. That's the type I got to go with, which I can't take to. The people know this. And because I haven't gone or haven't taken to that type, and because I've mentioned that this is ugly and I don't take to it, and I said I'm not going to take to it, in the past on Facebook, I've actually ended up being chased with a knife, which happened at Nine Springs in Yeovil back in the year of 2022. It was in June, because there was a lot of problems in the beginning of June that year, especially with one of the neighbours as well. There was a lot of problems. But yeah, I'm told I'm a sick cunt if I don't go with that, you know. So I'm not very happy about it, especially when you've not had anything in your whole life. But like I said, like just now, you're treated like the same as everybody else, regardless of the issue. So you've been sexually abused as a child, you're looked at as... I don't know how they look at that really. But you're looked at as if you've been in relationships, regardless of what's happened to you in life. You're looked at as being a single man that's a single parent, a single father, that's been in sexual relationships with teenagers, girls, and whatever else. I'm looked at as that. There's nothing I can do about it. People don't know you, and they just assume that you've been in sexual relationships. And this is why I'm getting this threat being mistaken as Sven and Liam. In 2022, it might not have been the nastiest threats that I've had in my life, but 2022, I had between 40 and 200 threats shouted or said at me as remarks in one day, almost every single day of that year. But also almost every single day of that year of 2022, I was photographed roughly by the same amount of 40 to 200 people per day being mistaken as Sven to tell me that I'm going to be knifed, smashed up, bones broken up, to rip my arms and fucking legs off, to pour petrol over me and set me alight, to smash me in, to knife me, to beat me up on the fucking floor because of sexuality, to break all my legs, to break, you know, to smash me up, to bash my fucking spine up, break my fucking ribs, to inject me with a HIV needle, to tell me that I'm a sick cunt because I won't fancy a granny, and to tell me that you're having your life ripped to fucking pieces and being put in a hospital bed, and that you're being burgled, and then once you've been burgled, then we're going to really fucking kick off and do you over. That's what they say. So they want to do it in stages. They want to see me have a break in first before they rip the fuck into me, before they smash the fuck into me, rip me to pieces and tell me that I'm a sick cunt. They're getting really nasty about it. And then there's these that are saying that you're going to be fucking shot dead and whatever. So most threats were that in that specific year of 2022. It's definitely the worstest threat year in my whole life for direct threats. Obviously I had the Palace nightclub in Bridgewater before I was mistaken as Liam and Sven, when I was getting threats under my real name Justin. But so many people were doing it that 3/4 of the people that were giving me threats in that time period calmed down and found out that everybody were lying about me raping Stephanie and Sadie, which was the threat going back at that time of 15 years or so ago. Back to 2022, it is also between 40 to 150 people trying to cough or sneeze in my face of 2022. Between March and August, there was at least 60 people trying to sneeze in my face in one day. And on some days, the amount of people coughing or sneezing in my face could be near enough 200, which is basically the same as the threats in one day on a very bad day, and also the same as all the other things that I mentioned, like people photographing me or trying to film me, of the same amount of issues on one specific day. So the next thing that I was going to mention is the actual setups, or what I call controlled structural force against me in a malicious way, was also quite bad in 2022. That was one of the nastiest years for that as well. But ever since the lockdown, when we came out of these lockdowns, this organised force that was against me in the past, which I've always moaned about, and even shocked people with the amount of setups that occurred, including the doctor I used to have. Well, let's put it this way, ever since that lockdown, and coming back into the reality of life again, they've reconstructed all these setups, and it's much more malicious and much more heavier than it's ever been before, ever, in all the setups I've experienced going back before 2020. So there's a lot of problems and there's a lot of issues when it comes to sexuality, and as I get older and older, the chances become lesser and lesser. And I'm not being funny, but even these Christian people that are young ladies in their early 20s, when I chat to them or message them on the internet, and take into account these are people that have a communication with Jesus Christ or have been raptured with visions or whatever, even they are getting nasty, telling me I'm a sick bastard, or boasting that they're a single mother, or their boyfriends are starting on me, threatening to smash me out if they see me in the street or whatever. So even Christian people are just nasty pieces of work. In actual fact, even people in Ukraine, I was speaking to a person who's 23 in the Ukraine on New Year's Eve 2022 into 2023, as I was being threatened to be knifed down and shot dead and told I'm a paedophile, child rapist and whatever else by people outside shouting on that specific year. Well, at the time I was speaking to this person in the Ukraine, and we're going into 2023 from 2022, she was actually telling me I'm a sick bastard because of the age gap, and telling me that I'm supposed to go for the older types of attraction, and that she didn't believe anything I said, like that I've never had anyone and I've been sexually abused as a child. And the reason I mention that is because I wasn't in a very happy mood at that time period, and it was a very rough time as well. And then obviously when we came into 2023, 2023 was a calm year, but initially the first or 2 months wasn't. There are certain times of the year where it's very, very nasty, and that is obviously Christmas, the time period where Valentine's Day is, and June can be quite a nasty month as well, especially the second week in June. Father's Day can be quite bad as well, that time period, and also Easter can be bad. Early May is bad. I've mentioned that many times. In fact, this May we've had Matty knifed the staff office door and got himself evicted. However, it wasn't very happy in that time period because I was being told I molested Sadie and all the rest of it. And I'm getting threats that go back to 2003, by the way. We're getting threats where they're saying that I'm trying to do this to Callum, and who's Amy Weston's brother, and all the rest of it. And this goes back to 2003, and they're just relaunching all these threats of the lies that are in the past. And these people, or some of the people, have actually made up with me, who found out that all this shit's made up. Even though they made up for the threats that I'm getting back then, the same threat lives on today, and people that don't know me or whatever is still coming back at me, even though people have found out that it's all lies. It's the same with the Stephanie business, the Sadie business. There's nothing I can do about it. All the stuff in the past where people have calmed down because of these lies that have been made up against me, or these allegations, has gone back to square one with new people in a new area that have no idea, and I'm getting problems under the same names as I was going back to those days. And the oldest threat that I still get to current day goes back to 1996, when I was still at school, believe it or not, which is a threat of graffiti that I was supposed to have done on a garage door, which is not even connected to my music and is not graffiti by me. And then obviously even that Alicia, who I lived next door to at Willavington, they're even bringing that girl up. She's actually still quite sexy, believe it or not. Or she was about 5 years ago. But she's a single mother, she doesn't like me, and her attitude's changed completely. It's not a nice accent. There's not a nice type of people she hangs about with. And her husband has a pit bull terrier dog. So that she's tied up with the sort of drug scene and all the rest of it. And tied up with hard people. So obviously she's probably going into a bit of negative attraction, because obviously everybody's aging now. This is why I've got to look for a younger person. But it's not my fault that everyone has stopped me getting anyone in my whole life. I mean, clairvoyant predictions. They've taken the bus service off. They closed shops. They closed the roads. When I've gone to meet up with people on dating sites, going back before 2012 or whatever, they've done all that to stop me getting anyone. They've even had special days where politicians or the government have enforced a specific day where they have to which causes the whole day to become like a bank holiday, which has messed it up for me going with anybody or meeting up. And the only person that I've actually met up with, I didn't even get off the bus because it was a munter. Someone that looked like that disgusting, unhygienic type person I was mentioning like just now. So take that away. When it comes to sexuality, God's fucking axed me in the back. And then you've got to look at a clairvoyant reading I had 20 years ago nearly. It's a past life clairvoyant reading. It could be as far back as 15 years ago. I can't actually remember when it was now, but she gave me a past life reading. And this was one my mum sorted out for me. And apparently I was sexually abused in my last life, and I was stopped from getting sex in my last life, let alone in this life. And going back then, she said this life's going to be much better because God's going to help you. God's going to make sure that your life's better this time round. And saying that, you know, karma, you know, you're going to get and be rewarded for what's happened to you in your last life. And I believe it's going to happen. What happens? That's a load of crap. My life just goes under and under and under. So, yeah, I was murdered tragically in my previous life, and I was a female that was working in a laboratory, to what I can gather, and basically said that I was sexually abused. Well, when I die in this life, after being sexually abused in what I nickname Wayne's World, then in my next life, basically I got to be born as a child and be raped as a child and played about with poker sticks on a fireplace. Because with the setups or suggestions that are occurring with wording on vehicles, t-shirts or wrappers or whatever's coming out in my direction as a symbolic message, is basically of telling me that I'm going to be ripped to pieces, sexually abused as a child in my next life, and basically going to have my life taken away again, like in this life. That's what the setups or suggestions are applying. And also applying that by the time I reach the age of when I'm going to be old enough to have sex, that I'm going to die by a deadly insect or a snake bite me or something like that. So the suggestions that are being made is all negative. There's never good news. So I've asked people to help me on the internet. I've tried making friendship, and everybody I've spoken to over those years, and the £10,000 that I spent on dating and trying to call prostitutes for sex and not giving you sex properly, or just blowjobs or whatever, it's just total waste of time. And it's also landed me up in almost being smashed in with a knife on the railway track in Highbridge when someone pretended to be a single lady back in the beginning of 2022, around about March or April. But that could be connected because I left a message asking Gemma if she wanted to meet up for a coffee, but she phoned me up telling me I'm a sick bastard and that you don't know what's coming to you, and the people I got against you, you wouldn't stand a chance, that you wouldn't be here anymore. But initially she said she was going to possibly report me to the law, but she let that go. But she told me the other part after that and got nasty about it and said, I don't want to see you ever again, you're not allowed in the shop. You don't ever fucking speak to me, you don't ever see me. She just got really nasty. And then that was a time period which I mentioned, and then later on when I sort of gave that information to 10 Downing Street, because I was moaning about sexuality because I've still not got anybody, and 43 is a serious age to not be having no sex at all in your whole life, to explain that issue. And then when I explained that issue of what happened, that's when the 70 politicians left. That obviously might not be connected, but I just wanted to mention that specific piece of information. Right, there's this Stephanie I mentioned, or Stephanie Hill Jill, whatever her name is, Gill. I've mentioned her quite a few times, and I've been accused of this and that with her. But I think that's because she is a very sexual type, smooth skin type of person. she's sort of medium to fat build, but you know, her body's like soft, very sexual, the type that men go for. And I think this is why the threat was coming in many years ago. Back at that time, I wasn't really taken to that sort. I was taken to the Amy Weston type. But the Amy Weston type in an adult at my age today are pretty negative with a sour looking face, so I can't take to that type. However, with Stephanie, although she's going into negative attraction now, that she holds out a more sexual appearance at an older age, where these sort of blonde people seem to lose it at an early age. But it's not what I wanted to speak about as such. I want to talk about these blue skies and sun curses like today, for the 15th of May 2024, because it's making me very hot and very sunny. But firstly, I just want to mention that today's setups, or people causing threats, or phone calls in my direction, or obstacles to stop me doing this recording, has been extremely bad. There's been over 200 phone calls in my direction. There's been over 50 people trying to sneeze in my face. It's one of those bad days. And there's been a lot of other problems as well, such as setups. Also, there's been a lot of people photograph me, mistaking me as that Savan. As mentioned in the video, you know, people want to smash me out, they want to do this and do that because of mistaken identity. And there's quite a few other problems as well. But let's skip all that, because I want to come to this sunshine and blue sky issue, because I've got to take my coat off now because it's just intensely hot. It's cloudy everywhere else, but wherever I go, it's blue skies and sexual weather. Now this has been going on for years and years and years. It's messed up thousands of pictures of streetlight pictures I used to take between 2005 and 2021 area. And then it's now happening all the time wherever I go. They open that sky up and hold that sky out, or rearrange the pattern of the sky to be sexual weather wherever I go to. I can't escape it. But they've deliberately and slyly caused a very big famous painting to go on the shelves at the time that they done it. So basically what it is there's a person that looks like this Lauren who works in Tesco's in Highbridge. I can't go with her obviously because she's with Michael, she's got children who are ginger haired, and she's turned against me because of this Liam and Savan business. And in that time period she got into a relationship with a strong man, a bit younger than me, tough build, bearded type person, you know, the type give me threats, and he's threatened me in the past to smash me out as well, mind. And obviously that's the end of that. Well, this painting is being sold on postcards, and the painting initially was on the internet. But at the time it was on the internet, I didn't really take much notice of it. I thought to myself, yeah, the sun's shining down, I get that all the time. But I wasn't looking at it in a way where I'm being cursed persistently by it, because at the time it was just before, when I saw this picture, it was before every day was sunny, and it was around about 2018 area when I saw this picture, and I didn't really take much to it when I initially saw that picture on the internet. It was only later on when I realised that this curse was occurring that I remember this picture. Anyway, that picture was selling in a card shop called Yandles at Martock in South Somerset, next to Yeovil. I went on a day trip on the bus there, and it was quite a bad trip as well, because people were starting on me, mistaking me as Savan, digging on sexuality, threatening to smash me in, take my life, to break in, to inject me, to knife me, to shoot me dead, and all the rest of it. And then obviously I had all this criminal force against me on top of that, making it very difficult to put up with at that time. Well, anyway, this specific painting is a big selling picture, and it's a picture of, it's an abstract painting of a lookalike to this Laura, but with sexy soft skin and a smooth face, that's posing with a sexual lip, as if, like, I'm not sure the word they use when they make that sexual word, sexual look with a lip, but it's like a sort of lip, or very similar, very sexual. So she's bending her body out of the sky, her legs are in the clouds on that painting, and she's got her face, as they did the picture to make it look like a really sexy face, by the way, but is to resemble that Laura. or Lauren. I'm not sure if it's Laura or Lauren, but it's this specific Lauren. I did find out later on, by the way, I just mentioned this, that in Tesco's there is actually another Laura that works there, but she's about 10 years older, and she's older than me, sorry, and is that really ugly type that I was mentioning earlier, where I called her the Toffs, where she looks a bit like Lisa Pike, which is a school friend that I had back in those days. But anyway, let's skip that and go back to this Laura on this painting. Right, so she's out the sky, she's posing with a sexual face, she's got her arm out with her hand that's outwards, shining in the sunshine on this man that's walking down a path or a track in the woodland, where she's cursing this specific person with the sunshine, but there's grey cloud and rain everywhere else in the picture. And then this person, this man that looks like a boy, that's holding the torch in one hand and holding the notepad clipboard with a pen in the other hand, and he's got a backpack on as well. Where that specific painting was taken off the shop shelves as fast as they could get it off the shop shelves, quite simply straight after I started making conspiracies of being cursed by the sun and the fact that I've had no sex in my life, apart from being sexually abused as a child, and being told that I'm going to have my life taken or be ripped to pieces or have my spine smashed up, or being nailed as a child rapist, being mistaken as this person named Saven. So they needed to get rid of that off the internet and out of the card shops. And obviously they're putting people in my direction to try and fuck up what I'm trying to say. So I've got to do it with people around. So it's not polite for them to listen to what I'm saying, but I need to get this mentioned, because if I don't, I'm not going to remember how to say it when I redo it again. We've had that many times, and this is why I'm doing it today, why it's fresh on my mind. So I went to think about going back to that Yandles place in Martock to purchase that specific postcard, because it didn't click straight away that the sun was cursing me and that it was blue open skies where I was with sexual weather, but everywhere else around me was grey cloud. It didn't click at that time, and then as I got to the bus stop I realised that was what was happening. So I went to get the bus, because I couldn't go back and make it there back in time, because this was the last bus back, and the last bus back from Martock back in 2023 was 4:20 p.m. Otherwise I would have had an 8-mile walk or whatever, and I didn't fancy doing that. So initially I went to try and get down there again not long after, but we were getting very sunny hot weather because it's the summertime, and obviously not only was it the summer, but the bus was full, people were coughing and sneezing over me and all the rest of it, and I thought I'd wait until it's a bit calmer on a calmer grey day, but there wasn't any grey days, it was sunny every single day. But eventually I did go back there, and when I went back there it wasn't selling, so I had a discussion with one of the staff that works there to find out where that postcard comes from. So she has seen it, so she confirmed that I'm not lying, but she said that the card company that they got that picture from they don't supply paintings, or that specific painting's been stopped by that company. Or I can't remember what she said now, but it was something like that, and that's what's happened. So that's what's happened now. The reason I didn't buy that card at the time is because at the actual time, or the initial time I saw it, I was thinking to myself, I've seen that on the internet before, but I didn't sort of look into detail about the card, you see, and I thought, yes, I remember that card. But it was only when it clicked and I was thinking back while walking to the bus stop to get back that it clicked that that card was applying a sexual suggestion of a sexy lady cursing this boy, or this man that looks like a boy with the sunshine, to apply that she's going to give sex over the boy. That's basically what the painting suggests. But regardless of that, they're continuing to do this. They're continuing to cause the sunny weather with blue skies and sunshine circling me. This is every single day this year, even on the wettest of days. For 3 years, and I'm not making this up, in 3 years there has not been a single day where it's been completely cloudy or rainy, even on the wettest torrential rainstorm days. And every single day I've gone out this year, except for those torrential heavy rainstorm days, there's been at least 2 hours of pure sunshine every single day I've gone out this year. Even when staying at my dad's, there's been at least 2 hours on the cloudiest, wettest days of every single day this year, including January, when we had almost a whole cloudy day in of 2024. Otherwise I've been cursed with that sunshine in a sly way. So it is being done on purpose, or someone up in the sky doesn't like me if it's not being done on purpose. But there's nothing you can do about it. More people coming, so I've got to cut the film. Right, now let's get to this Lauren, or Laura, whatever her name is, to how she looks basically. Where she could be as old as me, but it's very, very unlikely. If I was to say what age she is, I'd say she's about 10 years younger than me, but she's definitely older than what she looks. You can see that appearance in her, but she's one of those that's kept her smooth, soft skin appearance. But not only is she in a relationship with this Michael, but she hangs around with the really hard types of people, the real nutty types and the real bearded types, the ones that give me trouble. But to look at Britney Spears, how she looked in 1997 area, although she was only 15, 16 when she did the track Baby One More Time, or whatever it is. She looks similar to that, but longer in the face, and she's got like feeble looking eyes, which are like, so it's not like a strong look in the eyes. I think they're blue, I'm not sure. And when I say a long sort of face, she looks very similar in facial appearance to Yvette Fielding on Most Haunted. However, that's not really a good description as such. Her face, but longer, but with a Britney Spears appearance, and as Britney Spears would have been when she was 15, 16 and sort of in age. That sort of appearance, but with feeble looking eyes, is hard to describe. And the reason I have to use Yvette Fielding is because there's literally no celebrity I can think of that matches her appearance. So she's sort of all those in, what, 3 or whatever, but with a longer face, and probably a sort of same body type as Stephanie Gill, which is this person that I mentioned earlier that went to Elmwood School, that people have accused me of raping in the past. So basically like that. If there's a better description I can give for this Lauren lookalike, I'd let you know. I mean, I should have taken a picture of the actual photograph that was on that postcard when I went to Yandles at Martok at the time. But I wasn't thinking, was I? At the time I looked at that postcard, all I was thinking to myself in that hot sunny weather that was cursing me is a boiling hot day, and I remember seeing that in 2018 on the internet, and it's not there anymore on the internet, and it's not there anywhere in the shops, and it's not in other postcards stores where I can purchase the card or take a photograph of it because they've taken it off the shelf. Now I've seen this in a couple of shops back at that time, but whatever's happened, that specific card's gone and I can't locate it anywhere. And when I ask the people in these shops where it is, so I can get my evidence, so that I can get evidence to show you, it looks like they're trying to fold it under and disguise what they're doing. So, but it gets even better, because if we go back to very late last year, because they found out about this sexual issue with this Lauren curse with the blue skies and sunshine, because I don't like sunny weather, you see. I'm one for the cloudier weather, and they keep on making it sunny where I go. But the sun is supposed to come with a sex with this cursed painting that's on that postcard that's been selling in the shops, as I've been telling you. And obviously it's been taken off the internet, out of the shops, because they're trying to disguise the issue. When I say this Lauren or Laura has a long face, when I say long, I don't mean like super long, but longer than Britney Spears basically. So where Britney Spears is more of a rounded face, this Laura has a more sort of a longer face. So it's not long as in like a long face, but longer, but long enough to call it a long type of face. There is another person I can put Laura to, and this is an advert that's being advertised on eBay. It shows a picture of a lady with a red top that's laughing with her arms in the air and smiling or laughing sort of picture. It's like an advert, but it's on eBay that pops up now and again. I guess in some ways you could say Lauren looks very similar to that as well, but again, more sort of a sexual appearance in the face and to the description that I mentioned. But yeah, I just thought of that, and I think that's probably one of the better descriptions that you can give actually for this specific Lauren. So that's that. I would like to mention, even if that woman's name was not Lauren, the symbolic or the suggestion of that specific woman is there to apply that suggestion that I've been telling you about, which is on that postcard, where I'm being cursed with the sun. Right, so our people that have liked me that are female in my whole life, and the types that have liked me, it goes like this. So for the first 10 years, I didn't really have any female friends at school back in those days, but I did know this Amy Weston. She was a blonde, but she's never really liked me. I saw her when she was about 11 to 13, when I was on a visit to North Perroton with Uncle Rob, before that side of the family fell out with me, or had nothing to do with me, while helping him deliver a cupboard that had been polished to someone's place, as he's a French polisher and that was his job. Now, that would be my mum's brother, so he'd be my uncle. And that Amy didn't recognise me, and she made a few remarks, nasty remarks in fact, but you could see she was like a sexual type that had sex with many people. Even at that age, you could just work it out. And obviously she's looked very similar to Gabby Borges, the American actress singer, at the same age she would have been when she was about 11 or 12, 13. Nearly identical, maybe a bit smoother skin, or more sort of a longer in the face, maybe, hard to describe, but yeah, she looked very similar to that. So when we reach my 20s, I'm not liked by anybody but it's blonde. All females that are blonde have never liked me right through my whole life. So, but I do recall going on a day trip with my father and my brother and my dad's ex-partner Esme, where someone who was roughly about 25, who looked identical to Britney Spears, smiled at me as if she liked me. Now that shocked me a little bit, and she looked identical to Britney Spears, not just similar, identical. It wasn't, I knew that, but she looked identical, and I was quite shocked, to be fair, because out of all types of blonde types of people, that sort of type looking people don't appear to be the type that like me. However, in the decade of when I was in my 20s, I was, however, liked by the dark black, sort of dark brown hair, smiley type ladies, the ones that look like they go do the witchcraft or what in New Age, but slightly younger, smoother skin, and are very smiley and laughy, which I am liked by that type. So not anymore, but and there are some that are sort of more negative that are similar looking as well, which is very similar looking to Kimberly Cox, or Kimberly Hobbs as her name was named, as going back to when she was friends with Sadie Dando, who is on Robert Dando's side of the family, on relatives that don't speak to me anymore. So these types of people sometimes have like strands of hair that go from one side of down their face to the other side on the other side of the face, with like a cool sort of hairstyle that's very short, or down to their shoulders sort of, but done in like a sexual way. Mr. Bean had a lady in there is a foreign lady, that's a young lady that has hair down to near enough her shoulders, that's rounded, a youngish lady, but I think she's got a foreign accent, sexy looking and always smiling in the Mr. Beans. That's the type I'm referring to, people all very similar to people like that. Now that type, when I was in my 20s, did like me, but these sorts of people weren't single and nothing took place, or it was just a smile, it was just a friendly gesture or whatever, if people that looked like that were in my direction. So that's that. Literally everybody else or other people didn't like me at all. So let's move on to when I was in my 30s. When I was in my 30s, there were sexual people here and there that liked me, but it was very far and few between, and it was never the blonde type. But there are sort of new types, or types that I've not seen for many years, that I've come across, because it's extremely rare I even walk into a person that's good looking. There's always a serious, dry and sarcastic or nasty type, or the blonde type. So in my 30s I did walk into a few people that were good looking, and some were happy, but not very many. Even the very similar looking type to Gemma Ferguson were liking me as well. Obviously they would have been a bit younger and not so stern, but you know, it has occurred where that type of lookalike has liked me, mostly in their sort of mid-20s to 30s, even though I was in my 30s and older. But like I said, we're in a different time from then. Even just the last 5 years is different. Right, since I've been in my 40s, I'm not really liked by anybody at all when it comes to sexual looking types of people. So this is a very difficult one when it comes to your 40s, because even the dark haired type people that I was just mentioning like just now, even they look at me like I'm a sick, sad piece of shit. So you can see that the times have changed, and even just being a decade older is a lot different than what it was before that time. So when it comes to people that like me or look at me in a sexual way, when it comes to my age group, I can't actually, I'm 43, so it's only 3 years. I can't actually say there is anybody, to be fair, that's sexual, that's like me. I don't think there is. I think you're looking at 0, to be honest, which is not good, but that's the score for that, unfortunately. So that's what I mean. It makes it even more difficult for me to find anybody. I mean, the only possible way I'm going to get anyone is to find a spastic in a wheelchair that's asexual and do that, but that's not exactly the good thing to do, is it? It's not the right way to go about it or whatever, but quite literally they've, as I was saying earlier, they fucked my life up, or God's fucked my life up and has ripped me to pieces. And I can't use the Bible, you see. I can't pray to God because the Bible is against me. First of all, that time would be no longer in one of the Bible verses. So, because God is against time and saying once this time's gone, and I'm nicknamed Just in Time, and I've had names Just in Time in the past, you know, and I like the name, you know, there's no problem with it. And then obviously you've got to think about God. Jesus Christ had sex with Mary Magdalene. She was 9 or 11, I can't remember what the age is, and he was in his early 20s. They even had to take that out of the Holy Bible. So if you're following a saviour to get to paradise, or to go to hell, wherever God sends you, you've got to rely on someone that's had sex with children. And when you've been sexually abused and had nothing in your whole life, it's not a good example, is it? That you've got to follow someone that's had sex. And this is why I've turned against Christianity, and why I've gone into gods that have not been in human form to help me. Because if they haven't been in human form, they've done nothing wrong. But if they've been in a human form and visited Earth, then they stepped on insects, which is murder. They've had sex with children. And they've also cut fish, cooked it, and fed their face with it, their fat gob, and give it to their fellow men or whatever. So, you know, you've got that as well. And then you've got all these other Bible verses as well, saying that rejoice at your youth with your girlfriend or whatever, where that option has never been given to me. I mean, it's too dangerous going back before 2015 to even socialise anywhere. No matter where it is, a bar or club or whatever, people will go you guarantee every single day there'll be chairs being thrown in a restaurant, people shouting their heads off, people getting knives out, hitting out at people. It was really rough going back in those days, and this is why I wasn't socialising. Even people that are like cleaners in the beach court where I stayed back in 2004. With some of the older people saying it's not safe to socialise out there anymore, and that's back at that time. Obviously things are a bit calmer now. Obviously it's still not safe, people still get arguments, they still have fights, they still smash windows or set places alight, you know, community places like bars, pubs or cafes or whatever. But it's a little bit more to a level where you can risk socialising a bit more. But when you do socialise, you can't make relationships because people won't go with people they don't know. They stick with their own groups, and if you try and make friendship or chat to someone in a different group or a socialising place or where they do activities, you're being told that if you interact with other people you get your fucking head kicked in and saying that you don't know this person, you don't speak to this person, or we'll fucking smash you out, all this sort of stuff. You get it on dating sites. I've had that for many years as well, mostly by people in the UK, but it's now coming from America, Africa and everywhere else, and they're up in the age. And moaning about age gaps in these other countries since about 2013 area. So that's something else that's making it difficult. It was just the UK where I am, but now it's in other countries as well. They're basically doing the same. They're telling me that I'm a sick cunt because I won't fancy the negative type, not taking into account that I've not ever had anyone, as I said earlier on. But I've even been mistaken as a Savan on dating sites after the year of 2017. This is like in places like Coventry or up north, you know, and you're thinking to yourself, well, whoever this Savan is, it's got to be a popular person who's been on television for this many people to mistake me as that person, because I get it everywhere. I'm being threatened every day. I mean, back in 2022, as I mentioned earlier, you're getting up to 200 threats a day and 200 people photographing me a day to cause trouble or to send my picture to other people to get me knifed down or shot dead or whatever. And this is what I'm risking my life living anywhere. With all this danger and with the Creator falling against me, God. I mean, I've had Jesus Christ in my dreams, and these have been pretty realistic dreams, real life sort of dreams, and he's accusing me of having sex with people I've never been with, like Stephanie, and claiming that I got to pay for the price of lying and going to the fire of hell, telling me this in dreams. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, but it's not true. And he's not verifying the facts first, he's just going with whatever's been told to him. So basically what's happened is my life was planned possibly, and I've been derailed, but God or Jesus is playing on that path, thinking that track hasn't been derailed, or I haven't been derailed off that track. So just supposing I was to go with Stephanie, I'd be on a track that goes to Stephanie. But what's happened is I've been derailed, I've come off of that track into another direction. But Jesus Christ thinks that I followed that track and not been derailed, and is accusing me of having sex or being in a sexual relationship with Stephanie, and is threatening me with hell in nightmares that I'm getting, which seem like realistic reality dreams. It's very rare that occurs, but it has occurred. The other things I want to mention about Christianity is, regardless of how your life has been, if you commit suicide, you don't get a second chance. Jesus puts you in the fire of hell for all eternity. And the other thing I want to mention is, if you masturbate before marriage, you can go to the fire of hell because it's injustice or something. I can't remember what the wording is. And there's another Bible verse as well that says you're supposed to use your instrument as righteousness and not wickedness, which basically resembles the same suggestion. So yeah. But you can't expect you can't expect not to masturbate in 43 years if you've not had sex in 43 years, apart from being sexually abused as a child. But if you masturbate, which I've done obviously, you're going to go to the fire of hell because you've not done it in an appropriate way with a sexual woman. But you know, how are you going to get a sexual woman if you've got this problem? And also, to make things even worse, if you do go to heaven, there's no sex in heaven. The Bible states that clearly as well. And to make things even better, where there's disciples or someone said in the Bible that in heaven there is no sex and they wanted sex now, Jesus said, oh, well, go on and do her to the 7 or something like that. And you know, that's another. So there's loads, I mean, there's loads and loads of verses. You're looking at several hundred verses in the Bible that's actually against me. But there's nothing you can do about it. So when it comes to Christianity, you've got to re-look again to see who the correct God is and the correct religion. Because I can tell you now, it can't be Christianity if there's so much against me. And it's done in a sly way, you know, as well, in a sneaky way. So it's sort of singling out people that have had a bad life. But if you had a good life, then obviously it's going to go in favour of you. So this is another thing. But then the Bible says only the strong survive and the weak don't. But you can't be strong if you're violated or outnumbered or whatever else. So that's another thing where the Bible's fucked up. When it comes to Roman Catholics, they say that enjoyment of sex, of where you're being sexually abused as a child. So when I was on the floor like nerve jelly, feeling like being forced to enjoy sex with my belly forced out and Jesus' spirit being made over me in a suffering way, while I'm on the floor being forced to enjoy sex while being sexually abused as a child. In the Catholic religion, they say that sex, where that feeling occurs, is where Jesus Christ is interfering with you and making his presence known while having sex with you. But they don't see it in that way. They see it in a way as in being in a relationship with a sexual person. So that means Jesus Christ has sex murdered me, because I still haven't had anyone properly in my whole life. Anyway, going back to dating sites, it started around about 2013, but it has been before then. If you message someone on a dating site, a proper dating site, they tell you they only go with people that they know in their phones list, and that they're on this dating site only to have communication with people they actually know in person, and not to have, because their minds are small-minded and they're closed off. So when you pay for these dating sites, you're getting all that thrown at you. And the other thing that you're getting thrown at you on a dating site is being told that if you keep on messaging people that are sexual, or good looking, or basic looking, or even very basic, you know, I'm being told, or I've been told in the past, that they'll get their ex-boyfriend to smash me in and to fucking bash and kick my head in like a fucking rugby ball and knife me to the fucking floor if they see me in the streets, because I messaged them on a dating site. When it comes to prostitutes, going back to the 1990s, in the days where I couldn't get sex because I was too young or whatever, prostitutes would give hardcore and sex how someone wants it, proper sex. Nowadays they only give blowjobs, or will make a few sly moves on you but charge you 800 quid before trying to commit an attack of a knife attack or something like that. So I was warned by one of these Asian prostitutes going back a few years ago, and they're saying it's not safe to get a prostitute, not even just for a blowjob. They're saying there's a trap to get perverts smashed in and to get perverts knifed down, and to tell you that if you have sex with anyone, or if you need sex, you've got to do it with someone that you know, like a family member or a person you know in person, otherwise you're not going to get it. And she wasn't being nasty, she was just warning me of the dangers of how they work today. And even she thought it was, you know, not the right way to go about it, but obviously, even though she was only young, she was intelligent enough to know that people are not the same anymore, and not many mention that. So, you know, if it comes to prostitution or anything like that, you're not going to get sex. It's as simple as that. I've mentioned this many times, and many people have said it's the only way you're going to get sex or whatever. It's not going to happen that way. You're not going to get a prostitute. We're in a different time. They don't exist. I tried telling people this many, many times, but they just don't understand. They don't listen, and they just say, you can get them anywhere. It's not like that today. It's different. People are different. Right, so the other thing I want to mention is obviously, you know, when it comes to sexuality, it's beyond belief, my life is. But since when I was sexually abused as a child, seagulls were making this noise on the roof. Going, and doing spiteful callous ha-ha-has and whatever. Then there was not many voice sounds right through until I was about 5 or 6, and I was with Uncle Rob on the beach, and there was a vicious seagull that said, "Bastard, Justin." And even Robert heard it, but he didn't really say much about it. He just said, "Oh, that's not very nice, seagull, is it?" Or something like that to me, but I was very small at the time. Then there was no voice sounds or anything like that from animals until about 2003. So we had the music industry against me. They were producing music tracks to try and say that, I tell you, that this is beyond belief when it comes to sexuality. There's a lady called Susan who just turned 17, and they upped the age of consent to 18 for sex. And I was just a little bit older than her, in my early 20s. And I couldn't go with her because they upped the age of consent, and everyone put me down as a sick bastard, saying that they've upped it to 18 and it's not 16 anymore, before going back to 16 again later on. Obviously, where they've put the age of alcohol and buying tobacco up to 25 from 18, from 16, has made people think that they're not an adult until they're over 25. But now there's even more issues because people don't think they're adults until their 30s, which is causing the trouble of age gaps and people moaning about me when it comes to sexuality, and the reason I've not managed to get sex in my whole life. But if we go back to 2003, they were twisting the music industry against me in a piss take way, telling me that I will get someone, but it would be someone who sexually abused me as a child. And then they tried to twist the Scooters music against me, with tracks to say that if anyone listens to drum and bass, that they need to be knocked off and shot down and killed and whatever else, saying it's paedophile music or it's child rapist music, and that people that have a good life have a sexual life, and they should listen to sexual music, and to listen to Scooter, as Scooter will curse you with a sexy girlfriend, but you must do away with all that old school jungle crap that I listened to first. And there's been many other sly moves made in other tracks as well. When these setups that are being enforced against me were stepped up, it was in 2008, the same year that they released Lady Gaga, Just Dance, where it sounds like it says, "Justin is a mental case." And because of that record, that caused a lot of trouble between people giving me trouble. It even caused sexy ladies that were kind of half knew me to turn against me as well. And things just got turned out really, really nasty and really, really violent from that time onwards. There's hundreds and hundreds of tracks that have come out where they've twisted the ball against me for some reason. I don't exactly know why, and I can't guarantee that it is aimed at me, but whatever is happening, there's been hundreds of incidents with the music industry where it's affected me because of the way it's come out. And the times like when the lighting system and the CCTV camera goes down at Southbourne House when I was living there, at the Fathers for Justice event, they had the scaffolding around my building, they were opening the nightclub extended hours and also the pub next to me, and they had a rent-a-kill van parked outside my place, people trying to climb the scaffolding, but where the rough people were mixed side, they were stopping all the neighbours being attacked, and I was on the top floor, so anyone was climbing up the scaffolding, they could have, you know, easily attacked me and broke the window and smashed me in or whatever, and people were violent. But because you had a mixed side of people, you had rough against rough people trying to keep the dangerous people from attacking all the neighbours and all the rest of it, and that's the only reason I'm here today. But they broke the CCTV camera, took it down at the same time, the lighting system went down in the corridor where I was, then you had the rent-a-kill van outside, and this was at the Fathers for Justice event, and it was also the time period when they were stepping up this heavy action against me, heavier than ever before. And at the same time, believe it or not, they had a paedophile and child killer on the news that resembles my face. And they've done that many times with the media and lookalikes to me. Then that's caused lots of trouble. That's caused people to fall against me. That's caused females to pass me in the streets that are sexy, saying he looks like that murderer on television or whatever. It's caused many problems. And, you know, it's always sexuality. I mean, it goes back to the stories I mentioned earlier. There's been thousands of incidents where they've caused problems in this sort of way. Anything from fuel explosions on the M5 to messing up clairvoyant predictions of me getting a sexy girlfriend called Chloe, aged 18, at the carnival at North Peverton, which I wasn't going to attend, but the clairvoyant said if you attend it, it will happen. She can see it coming. But then the fuel explosion occurred and then they took it off. So they've done many different things, like closing shops, closing roads, closing dating sites down. The first 2 years, which is 2005 to 2007, when I was using dating sites, they had them free. So you don't have to pay for them so much in those days. and they were closing them down. Over 50 dating sites closed down in 1 year, including Justin's dating site, when I started going on there in 2005 looking for single ladies in Somerset. And basically no replies. Postal order payments, I've been blocked. I've been had my account disabled with payments made, both postal order payments and debit card payments. I've wasted about 10 grand on dating sites to succeed with just nothing at all, apart from a blowjob and this person who's named Jeanette, who looks very similar to Michael Jackson but in a female, or as Michael Jackson looks today, not as how Michael Jackson looked in the 80s, how he looks today. Looks, I didn't expect her to be negative attraction, but she did no more than a few moves on me and that was it. And that was just a way to get money for the old neighbour to move out or the new neighbour to move in. Scam me of 800 quid. And actually that person who went to attack me, saying that you need to be knifed and smashed up on Highbridge railway track, looked very similar to the person that did that met up pretending to be a car dealer saying she needs money for her car, when I met up Morrison's back in March or April 2018 when that scam took place. This lady claims she was about 18, but I'd say she's 22, but of a negative looking type, so she's not exactly a very good looking type. But you know, when I answered the door I didn't have a clue what she looked like, did I? And that's the nearest to any possibility, otherwise it's Wayne's World. But so basically, you know, my life's been a total fucking mess up, where people have violated me and stopped me getting sex all my life. And now I'm 43, I'm just going to get older and older, and eventually I can see myself just getting nastier and nastier, retaliating to all these problems that are going to get worse and worse as I get older and older, where people have mistaken me as a savant and photographing me every day because it's causing all the trouble to escalate and get worse and worse. Nobody's going to help me, nobody gives a fuck. There's nothing I can do about it. My life's just going to get worse. It's pointless praying to God because, like I said earlier, I've gone into church, I've prayed in church, tying to an erection as a loud bike occurs. So basically they do that all the time. Actually since 2014, literally there's no more than 10 bikes per year that aren't tying to an erection out of every single bike on the road. So you know, it's caused a lot of trouble, this loud bike tying to an erection. I mean, back in 2008, I mean, you had 50% of loud bikes tying to erections on the road, but not every bike. Nowadays they get every single bike of all year round of every year tied to an erection, and I'm getting very, very pissed off of it. But there's nothing I can do about it. It's fixed. And if they can't get a loud bike tying to an erection, do you know what they do? They tie a lookalike to someone who sexually abused me as a child tying to an erection. So you can't win. There's either that or a loud bike. There's never an erection, or it's extremely rare. Maybe one erection a year where there's no loud bike or a lookalike to someone who sexually abused me as a child tying to an erection in recent times. Since that lockdown, the release of the lockdown, they've managed to get every single erection timed regardless. Before the lockdown it was bad, but there were days or there were times where not every single erection was counted for. But today it's fixed like a pulley. There's nothing you can do about it. But then again, 2016, 2017 and 2015 were very bad. So there's never a good year when it comes to the loud bike tying to an erection. It's extremely rare and probably about 1 in a million, but you do occasionally get someone that's my age or older that still has smooth soft skin and sexual appearance as they would if they were in their teens. But when it comes to these sorts of people, it's not going to be possible because they're always in relationships. These types of people are never going to be single. And the next bad thing about it is these people that are like that are usually single mothers with 8 or more children. And also, a lot of these types of people don't like me anyway. So it's literally impossible. They've made it impossible. So basically, me being sexually crucified is the only answer to this on this planet Earth. I mean, I've posted USB sticks containing my deep depression life story packs and hard evidence that God doesn't exist and whatever else, which I've named Time, Nightmare, Sexually Ripping Justin to Pieces, Sexually Destroying Justin Langford, and Justin's Negative Daily Problems or My Life Story packs. So it's had different titles of the same content since 2006 when I started doing this in a digital form. But if we go back to 2002 when I initially did the Deep Depression pages, I put my faith in God and I ripped up over 400 sheets or 300 sheets of problems that I stated when I was out, which was on paper back in that time in very small writing, before I went into a digital format of doing it on WordPad when I had my very first computer. So, but guess what? Literally, when I ripped those sheets up and chucked them all out, my days got nastier and nastier after praying to God. So that was just the start of me thinking, why isn't God helping and why is things getting worse and worse? And then obviously my life got 10 times, 20 times worse with all the problems that I had when I was living at Bridgewater in West Street, with threats every other day, and the Palace nightclub, the threats there, and the animal voice sounds just going on and on. Because these animal voice sounds that occurred, they've occurred for years. It was around about 2003 when it started, in 2005 when I moved to West Street in Bridgewater, where it just suddenly kicked off the scale with thousands of voice sounds a day. On one occasion there was a bird that tweeting just said, telling me to fuck people that raped me as a child, saying I'm being knifed dead, saying I'm a sick bastard, saying you're going to the fire of hell, telling me this and that in a real malicious way, accusing me of child rape and whatever else. It was just really, really nasty, really, really negative. And taking the piss out of me when setups occur, or when I've been attacked, or when I've been chased, or when I've had a bottle smashed across my head and thrown in the canal or whatever, a seagull go ha 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 ha, in that sort of way. It's always being done in a spiteful, malice way, and when an attack occurs, which is causing these animal sounds to occur. But between 2012ish, I think it is, I can't remember, 2011, these animal voice sounds dropped dramatically. They were still occurring, but they dropped. And they picked up again when I moved to Burnham-on-Sea, but it didn't really pick up too much. And it was mostly at certain times of the year, which was December and February in particular. And then there was a specific year around 2016 area where it was very bad. And then it sort of died down slightly, but it never really died down that much, but it died down enough to say that it died down. And then when I moved to Yeovil, it was pretty calm. But as soon as we came into December 2022, right through to now, the voice sounds are off the scale like they were when they just kicked off in 2005 to 2011 area. And it's the same this minute in time. So, worth mentioning. When it comes to the music industry, I forgot to mention other tracks that have come out, not just to be spiteful, but they've actually made music tracks to claim that I've had sex with Stephanie Hill, or just Stephanie Gill, or Gill, whatever her surname is. I can't go with Stephanie Gill, or Stephanie Gill, for several reasons. One, she's been in a relationship since 2007, 2008. Before that time, every time I walked into her, enemies were insulting her and then insulting me if I look at her, because they are taking the piss out of her because of her mental disabilities, which is not the right thing to do. But I didn't want to be seen as stupid at that time, because there's so many people that were starting on me and I was having the piss taken out of me. I just didn't want to be in that situation, and at the same time I was being threatened as well. So every time I was walking into enemies at the same time, so they're timing the two together, meaning I couldn't speak to her anyway. So this is why I never spoke to her. And prior to that, I spoke to her in 1997 at Tenpin Bowling in Taunton, because I was with a group called Snap who did day trips in the school holidays. Now, I can't guarantee 100% it was Stephanie, because I called out to her and she didn't hear me, but I was desperate to try and speak to her or say alright, but obviously she was with her own group and she didn't respond, so I'm assuming it might have been somebody else, but it could have been Stephanie, I don't know. And I noticed they did play a good music track as well at that Tenpin Bowling, and it's called Kenobe Slip Into Something More Comfortable, which is a classical chill out track of contemporary classical music, of a newer type of classical that they brought out today, which is not a bad track for a classical tune. and that's when I first heard that track. It's also been on TV commercials as well. But if we go back before then, I haven't seen Stephanie Hill since I was at Elmwood School, which is in 1993, 1994 area when I left. So I think I left in 1994, I can't remember. But either way, they were insulting Stephanie at that time. She looked a bit more intellectual. She had an intellectual look when she was a child, but she was very small for her age at that time, so she wasn't that big. And I was speaking to Mark Rich, saying, why are you insulting her? What's funny about her being small and all the rest of it? But as far as speaking to her is concerned, I've not really spoken to her in my whole life, so... But, you know, that's that. The next bit of bad news I want to mention is they have got Sven down as a very dangerous person in music tracks, like a rapist, and that's someone that needs to be murdered or whatever. But why do that when they make sure that I'm jeopardised with everybody mistaking me as Sven and Liam with all these threats, so that it can go against me as well because of that mistake where everyone are thinking I'm that person called Sven. Right, now let's move to Facebook again. Right, Facebook, going back in the early days when I was using it, there were a couple of children that added me on there. So these were like children that are very nearly an adult, a young adult. Even they were single mothers before the age of 18. Whenever you look on someone's profile of a sexy type lady, regardless of what age it is, above legal age, they're always single mothers or got congratulations all over their Facebook channel, even at the youngest possible legal age. So what do you do if everyone's a single mother? Because even the Bible, the Holy Bible, is against a single man going with a single mother that has never been in a sexual relationship before, which I agree with. So there are some things I do agree with in the Bible, but not many things. A lot of things are against me. There are hundreds of incidents where the Bible's against me, as I mentioned earlier. The majority of people that use Facebook or YouTube in modern times mostly seem to be the working class people of middle class or high up, and the older generation. Most of the younger generation don't even use Facebook anymore. They moved on to other social media networks. Now it's time to talk about people that start on me, which can be over 100 people in one day at times, if not more. Well, most of these people that have started on me are usually my age or a bit older, or have been for many years. But since I reached my 30s, mid-30s, a lot of the people that are starting on me now can be as young as 14. I've had people as young as 14 threaten to kick my head around like a rugby ball and to smash me in with a knife and to break my teeth and to put me into a hospital bed, saying that I'm a sick cunt and a child molester and a woman beater and whatever else. And even threatened to inject me with a HIV needle or whatever else, even at that age. But the problem is, yes, it is only a young age, but a lot of these people are built like a brick shithouse today. So the muscles on a 14-year-old would be as hard as a rough adult. That's how hard people are getting today. Well, this 14-year-old, this is one example that occurred late last year. Started on me as he was walking past. He had a girlfriend aged about 11, so she's like a very sort of soft skin, well, I don't know whether you use that term, soft skin on a child, bit softer than soft. I don't know what word, silky skin, is that what they use? I don't know what the term is for the name that they use for child's skin. But she was about 11, very similar to how Amy Weston would have looked when she was 11, or Gabby Borges, the American actress. You know, the general fucking look of a child, basically. Blonde child. So that was his girlfriend. Yet he had the nerve to threaten me with what I just told you when he's in a sexual relationship with a child. And he's a child. But he still had that nerve to tell me that. But anyway, let's get on to the more older people. Because most of the people that start on me are 20 years younger than I am today anyway. I don't know why that is, but most people that start on me are 20 years younger than me. So it's usually in their late teens to about the age of 30 when they start on me, even though I'm 13 years on top of 30. But, you know, there's nothing you can do about it. And because of these people being hard built, there's no way I could take them on in a fight. In actual fact, these types of people are harder built than anyone in my family or all my relatives. People seem to have that build to them today. I don't know why, but people do seem to be extremely muscular today. Anyway, so you're walking in the street and you're seeing these people in their 20s or 30 or whatever, and they're all coming up to me saying that I'm Savan, mistaking me as that person. And whoever this Savan is older than me, apparently, according to some threats, so this person could be 50. I don't know who this person is, but I'm just going by the threats. And when they give me the threats, they always do this sort of laugh, and and always bringing the R into a word like, he's a paedophile, he's a liar, you know, in a posh sort of R way when they're making the threats. And they think that I play a guitar, they think I'm very boastful, and think I go to clubs where I play a guitar, and claim that I've worked in a play school, and saying that I've sexually abused children, thinking I'm that person called Savan. And I don't know what's true, and I don't know the ins and outs of this specific person called Savan, but what I've interpreted, or the information given from threats, applies to be what I just mentioned. And also, as a possibility, this chap has a feeble face, but is bigger build than me and more muscular than me. And there's also the possibility he has a nickname called Tiger as well. However, that can't be verified at this minute in time. That's just going by what the threats, what's mentioned in threats. Anyway, so here we are. We've got these people in their 20s, mostly the bearded type or the rough type. And they come up to me and they said they're going to break every bone in my body, saying that you're going to be injected with HIV. I'm going to smash you out, going to beat you up, going to punch your lights out, going to break your bones and all the rest of it. The most frequent threat that I get, the most frequent threat I've had for 2024 is not the knife threat, not the lethal injection or the HIV needle or anything like that. It's mostly to bash me in, to beat me up in a fist fight, but a hard, vicious fist fight. But the problem is, as I was saying earlier this year and late last year, modern fist fights are different today. When a fight takes place and someone starts to fall down, they then get a knife out to complete the fight. And if the knife doesn't work, or if they complete it with the knife, once they've done that, and once you're on the floor or someone's on the floor, they'll inject you with a HIV needle, or if they want to commit murder on you directly, they'll inject you with substances like brake fluid, weed killer or bleach. So that's how a fight works today. So people are very dangerous. So, but you know, that's the way it works. But as far as I'm concerned, most of the threats I've been getting in recent times is basically to punch me out, to beat me up, to floor me, to smash my head in, involving fists. So it's all fight talk at the moment. It's all vicious fight talk. It's all punch talk. So most of these people are saying this are like the bearded people, but they are with a sexual type of person always. They're always with their smooth, soft-skinned, blonde-type girlfriends or sexual-looking girlfriends. The whole lot of them. All these people that give me threats are with these sexual types of people. And the sexual types of people they're with are the same types of people I'm told I'm a sick bastard if I look at. So if I was to look at their girlfriends on a dating site, or as to look at their girlfriends in general, they tell me that I'm a sick piece of shit and to up the age, or to look at the negative type, or getting nasty about it, or applying that I'm a real throwback. So that just says it all, doesn't it? So you've got someone in a relationship with a sexual type of person, and they got the cheek to nail me as a sick bastard with threats in the hundreds, sometimes daily, just to tell me I'm a sick bastard and to endanger my life in a fist fight or a knife, or to inject me, or to tell me that I'm being shot dead, thinking I'm a dangerous man, when they're in a sexual relationship with the type that I get accused of being a sicko if I look at. So I'm not very happy about this, and this is all the time. This isn't just occasionally, this is every single day. So, you know, that's something else to mention. Right, the next bit of information is regarding music and sexuality. You used to have an underground scene where you had techno, house, garage, jungle, and possibly drum and bass if it was out then. But drum and bass is not the same as jungle. That is, I'll come to this first actually. Jungle and drum and bass are two separate categories, but they're trying to fade jungle out, and change it to drum and bass so they can do away with jungle. Jungle is a very deep, soulful music genre with a lot of meditation, new age and dark ambient samples with creepy sound in it. And you've got a lot of reggae in the more commercial tracks of jungle as well. And it's extremely soulful, very trancey and very rare groove sounding, with a lot of old-fashioned instruments, or if it's not old-fashioned instruments, it's musical sounds that sound old rather than made to sound modern. The bass in jungle's pretty much deep, weighty, sort of shaky type of bass, and jingly break beats, which is centred on 2 break beats in particular, which are taken from sped up old songs from the 60s and 70s or 80s or whatever. One's known as the think break and the other one's known as the amen break. The amen break is taken from a record called The Winstons, Colour Him Father, which is a 7-inch that was released in 1969, which is a Northern Soul track. But on the B-side you've got a track called Amen Brother, and there's a specific drum solo that was used by Gregory Coleman, I think it is, that did that breakbeat in 1969. If sped up, it creates the breakbeat used in jungle music, but was initially used in hip-hop in tracks like NWA's Straight Outta Compton in 1989. But anyway, that's jungle. That's the layout of jungle music. Drum and bass is a lot different. Drum and bass is more punchy. You've got a different type of drum layout in drum and bass as well. So with drum and bass is more, so you've got like a 2-step punchy drum line, which sounds similar to several different breaks that they use in drum and bass. So there's one that sounds like a sweeping brush, sweeping across the floor in a breakbeat pattern in a 2-step way. Then you've got the other type of drum break, which is like hitting a pillow hard sort of drum break pattern. So it's known as the punchy effect or whatever. So it has a harder kick to it in the drums and has more of a punchy sound to it than what jungle has. And the bass line is not a deep, heavy bass shaking type bass line in drum and bass as it is in jungle. With drum and bass it's more of a wobble bass line or a distorted computerized bass line to sound modern. The samples used in drum and bass is a lot different to what's used in jungle. So in drum and bass is more concentrated on very quick changeable sounds and patterns with the influences of heavy metal and musical styles you get in EDM trap music. So it's totally different to jungle, really. In fact, the 2 categories don't even match up. They're 2 kinds of different, they're like 2 different types of music altogether, to be fair. I mean, jungle's the reverse to drum and bass. Drum and bass is on the happier end of things, where jungle is on the lower end of things. Drum and bass is more lively, more punchy, where jungle is more chilled out and more mellow. There were a lot of rave tracks in the early 1990s. If we go back before the middle of 1993 and say the year of 1992, they were using a lot of spinny sounds or synthesizers, making ravey tracks which also contained a very similar drum beat to jungle back in that time period. But when the progression changed in 1993, jungle came into existence basically, and they started with tracks like Intense Paradox or Intense Journey to the Unknown or Intense The Quickening, and they had these sort of breakdown tracks. So you had these sort of hard jungle bass tracks that are trancey, and then you'd have like a rare groove part halfway through the track, a bit like Dope Travelling Part 2 on Good Looking Records or so on, which was released in 1993 or early 1994. So now I've mentioned jungle, we're going to get into the conspiracy side of the issue and the sexuality side, okay? Since 2001, you've had commercial mainstream tracks insult or dig at underground music tracks or underground music genres. Now most of these genres are under now, they've had to do away with them. I mean, let's look at React Records. They changed to Resist Records, so all their stuff that they were producing, all this Euro, trance and house music of the 1990s, is now folded under. They're not allowed to get it reissued, repressed or anything like that. When it comes to the old school jungle scene, especially the heavy years of late 1993 to early 1995, when they were producing underground jungle with dark sound, deep, heavy, trancey, mystical tracks, or these tracks with cult samples and rare grooving sounds or breakdown parts in it, all that's gone now. Right, initially you could get this music, you know, second hand, or you could get it on record, CD or mixtape or whatever. But when we come to 2003, music laws change, and that ends the whole of the underground scene completely in most underground genres, especially in the techno and the jungle scene. Then we're getting commercial tracks or hip-hop tracks or mainstream tracks insult this music as paedophile music, child rapist music, homosexual music or lesbian music as a nice, easy, quick way to force people out of that music, or they'll bring out a nasty hip-hop track telling people that if they listen to underground techno or jungle that they'll be shot dead. So it started there initially. About a decade later was when they folded the whole of the underground scene under, where they couldn't produce any of it, not even on the B-side of a specialised record. They literally folded the whole lot under. But where the record companies went under, so did the original master recordings, so which means the whole of the jungle scene and the techno scene or other genres that are underground are no longer going to be available to buy or reissue ever again, and a lot of these recordings are lost. So if you listen to that type of music, you're not going to be able to get it ever again if you don't have it now or can't get it second hand. Now the other thing I want to mention is in these modern commercial pop tracks, they are trying to tell you that you should be listening to happy, jolly, good life sexual music, which is basically another way to rub in sexuality, as I'm mentioning or been mentioning right across this documentary that I've been doing today. I just wanted to mention where all this shit's been flying around over the years, especially before 2016. Even the police were one-sided and weren't very happy with me and used excuses to try and arrest me on the Communication Act and other things, where all this sexuality bullshit's been going around about me all over these years. After 2016, the police woke up and found out that people were making stuff up about me, but before that time things were a lot different, and I've even ended up in trouble for graffiti and many other different things, mild crimes basically like that, where I've ended up in trouble retaliating due to this sexual stuff and lies that's been made up about me over the years. Right, so the setups regarding sexuality have been very, very nasty right from about, 2005. It's gone on before that time. It's mostly time and enemies and rough people in my direction every time I go out, which is increasing, obviously, especially since lockdown. But the sort of setups that you get is like murderous riding on vehicles timed in my direction, overhanging trailers trying to smash my legs up from behind. Setups to say we're going to rip you to pieces, we're going to play about with you in the fireplace as a baby in your next life with poker sticks, to getting really aggressive with full pelt action of wanting to knife me, to inject me, to shoot me dead, to smash my body up, to put me into a wheelchair, to take my life. Literally, there can be up to several thousand setups a day if you include the colours of the cars or the type of suggestion that's being made in a fixed type of way. I've gone for hours and hours just going through each individual setup, suggestion or whatever that occurs. This is a fixed force and it occurs constantly wherever I go, and this is why I go on a daily basis, writing about 20 pages of problems of controlled force around me in a structural, malicious, pre-organised, mapped out way. So I'll keep it short and simple because that story could just go on for hours and hours, but that's the sort of action that's taking place, like timing the drain cover to be hit over, reversing the car out me with a catalytic converter on it, so it smells like a vinegary sort of smell, with the smell of rubbing garden crest between two stainless steel knives, but about 100 times stronger. 2, timing people sneezing in my face, as I mentioned earlier on this video, for the audio documentary I'm doing now, and many other things. So I'll end the video there, but that's the reason, and it's always on the grounds of sexuality, and it always has been. There's nothing I can do about it. And like I said, since the release of the lockdown, they started stirring trouble, claiming I've been in sexual relationships, claiming I have a daughter, claiming I have a son, claiming I'm a father, claiming I've raped children and women, and it just goes on and on like that. It's been like it for years and years, but it's got nastier since the lockdown. But before the lockdown it was just as bad, near enough, but it's got 4 times nastier and 4 times heavier since the release of the lockdown. Thanks for listening.